What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Two Tides Brewing Company, and they're out of Savannah, Georgia, and this is their Fluff Motif, the raspberry plus cranberry variant. So they're calling this one a sour with raspberry, cranberry, marshmallow, almond, and vanilla. It also says it contains lactose. It comes in at 7% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is just under 5 months old. I'm going to give a huge thanks shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and a viewer of the channel, Wes, for this beer. So huge thanks to him. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that Wes hooked me up with. And he hooked me up with 5 different Two Tides beers, a double IPA, 3 sours, and an imperial pastry stout. Now, last week, I posted the first sour from them, the review of the first sour, that is, and it was their Acid House Volume 6, and it was a heavily fruited coffee sour, and to use and borrow Wes's description of it, trippy. It was definitely trippy. It was kind of a mind-boggling, kind of a, dare I say, mindfuck. It was just an interesting beer because it's coffee with like a heavily fruited sour. It's just your brain tries to process it and you're like, what's going on? It was quite tasty though. So this one is a part of their Fluff Motif series where they have something they call the fluff treatment, which just basically is marshmallow, almond, and vanilla. And then they usually impart a fruit or two. And this is raspberry and cranberry. So I'm interested to see how this one is. I don't know if we're going to get like a raspberry yogurt or raspberry crumble or raspberry parfait or a raspberry pie with a little bit of cranberry in there. We'll see. Anyway, give it a pour here, but I really like raspberry and heavily fruited sours. Cranberry can be hit or miss, but I think that'll pair well with the raspberry. So I kept this one upside down in my fridge, but I still like to use these big glasses to pour the entire thing in because I learned a long time ago when it comes to these heavily fruited sours, sometimes if you don't roll them right before, keep them upside down. And even when you do that, sometimes when you pour it, like the last maybe like third or fourth of the can has all the goodies in it. So yeah, that has, all the pectin, fruit puree, lacing the glass. But yeah, that has this really deep, like I would say magenta. I don't know. It's definitely a deep purple color. Hold it up to the light. You're not seeing through that. Had about a finger of this really pink colored head. It looked pretty creamy, now displayed to a thin film because of all the adjuncts, and usually sours don't maintain their heads anyway. But yeah, you can see all the probably raspberry and cranberry that's just hanging around. So let's get a nose. So right now, actually, take that back. I was actually going to say right now I have raspberries in my fridge. I don't. Ate the last of the raspberries. I bought mixed berries recently. I bought some strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries. They were like buy one, get one free. All right, I think they were buy one, get one free. Yeah. Anyway, raspberries were in the fridge yesterday. I had them. And these were a little bit like over-ripened because the end of them. And, you still get the seedy, like little bit of tartness, but they were a little bit sweeter. That's exactly what I'm getting in the nose here. It's over-ripened raspberries. But then underneath that, I'm getting like the vanilla, the almond, the marshmallow, the fluff treatment, and it's giving me kind of like a pie crust vibe, or just like a pie in general with the crust and like whipped cream topping, or maybe like a raspberry cheesecake, right? But the raspberries smell so fresh right now, probably because they're fresh in my memory of just having them yesterday. Really not picking up on the cranberry. Here's the honest to God truth when it comes to cranberries and beer for me. I've almost never pick up on them. I've done some whodunit beer reviews, mystery beer reviews, where there's been cranberries in the beer, and I just never pick them out. Why? A, not a huge fan of cranberries. I don't really just eat them. I like cranberry jelly or cranberry sauce. That really, is just sweet, sugary cranberries. But I don't really eat cranberry. I don't love cranberry juice. I'm okay with it, and I'm all right with it, but I just don't seek it out. So I probably will never pick it out in an actual beer, like purposely. But here it's just raspberries. This is, if I was doing blind, I'd be like, this is definitely raspberry. And I might guess like blackberry or blueberry because it's darker than raspberry. But yeah, this kind of smells like almost like a raspberry parfait. So you get the yogurt in there from the base sour. You get fresh raspberries. Getting a little bit of like, if there was coconut, I think like a parfait would make a little bit more sense. But just a parfait in general. Anyway, it smells pretty fucking good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again, Wes. Oh. This is crazy dry. I have never, now I've said this in a lot of reviews. Holy shit. I've said this in a lot of reviews. A lot of reviews. I'll talk about a dryness of a beer, how it kind of saps my palate of all the saliva, and then I have the cat tongue that's kind of like sandpaper. I have never had a beer do that quicker than this beer right now. 3 seconds after I took that sip, I feel like I have no saliva. It's starting to come back a little bit. All right, let's see. This is so incredibly dry. It's crazy. I don't think I've ever had a heavily fruited sour that has a dryness like this, but it's so welcomed. Like, I think it's a little bit overdone for what I personally love. But what do I always say about these? Too sweet. This is not the case with this one. It's not even close to too sweet. So let's go body mouthfeel, assuming that like I can continue to talk with actual saliva in my mouth, because I don't know if that's possible right now. Body's not as thick as the one I had last week, or a lot of them. This is like higher side of medium, lower side of full. Definitely thicker than a normal 7% beer, but with the puree and whatnot, I thought it might be a little bit thicker. I'm okay with it. Makes it a little bit more refreshing. The mouthfeel has a decent carbonation. I'd say like approaching moderately carbonated, but it's still pretty smooth on the palate. A little bit of creaminess, not a lot, just a little bit. The taste though, forefront, raspberries, but that sweet over-ripened raspberries, sweeter raspberries getting in the nose, didn't translate as much in the taste. It's raspberry up front. It's a little bit sweet, but then it instantly turns tart. And then it gets like a little bit seedy. Like when you're eating a raspberry and you get a little bit of the crunches from the seeds. Anyway, passes through. The cranberry hits. Now, the cranberry flavor is mild, but I think it just ramps up the tartness, and there's like a little bit of bitterness from the cranberry. Midway to 2/3 of the way through the palate, I get hints of the marshmallow and the vanilla kind of working hand in hand, just giving me like a vanilla, almost like whipped cream kind of vibe, but not too big. There's a slight nuttiness in here from the almonds, but very minute. If I was doing this blind, I don't think I'd mention them specifically, because it has like an almond dryness that you would get. But I think, again, that's just the beer itself. Like, this is pretty dry. What I like about this one is at no point is this ever like I'm like sitting here going, this is super sweet, or even this is sweet. This actually leans more dry. This is like 60-40 dryness to sweetness. There's almost no bitterness in here, just a very slight bitterness. But this is more dry than sweet, which is very rare for these beers. And I'd have to probably credit the fact that Two Tides, the one last week, wasn't overly sweet. Plus, the cranberries they're using here, I think that really balances out the raspberries to some degree. I actually am getting a little bit of the alcohol in the chest. Like, I feel it in the chest and the stomach, like a little bit of a warming sensation. Nothing on the palate, but I do notice it. There's a decent, I would say this is firmly tart, and it has a mild acidity. It's not like building up in the back of my throat, like, I'm going to have heartburn or acid reflux or something later. Just a little bit mild acidity. I don't love, here's the thing. I think if it wasn't for that intense, like over-the-top dryness, I think this would be like a low 4 or 5 for me, maybe even a 4 or 5. I love the raspberry character in here. I like that the cranberries are actually in here, even though I'm not a huge cranberry fan. I think it brings enough to kind of, it works with the base being a sour beer, right? So they work hand in hand. I love that the marshmallow, almond, vanilla, the fluff treatment isn't over the top. I like this. This doesn't taste exactly like a pastry. It's not super sweet. There's a lot of good things about this one, but that dryness to me knocks it down a little bit. I think I like last week's beer a little bit better than this, but this is still pretty good. And Two Tides, as far as I'm concerned, with these sours, pretty good. I know a couple folks posted in the comment section of last week's review where they said this is what they're known for. This is the sour ales, and yeah, they're pretty much 2 for 2. Again, a little less dryness in this one. I think it's going to get a higher score, but I'm digging it. So Fluff Motif, the raspberry plus cranberry variant from Two Tides, absolutely no issues whatsoever. Giving this a low 4.25 out of 5. I'm going to go 4.2 out of 5. I think I gave the Acid House a 4.25. So this is I like this a little less than that. But again, if the dryness was toned down, this would be like a 4.4, 4.45, 4.5, something like that. And the artwork, I really dig Two Tides' artwork. Very simplistic in my opinion, but works extremely well. So really good beer. And if you're somebody who has tried a lot of these heavily fruited sours and you're like, oh, it's not beer, or like, it's too sweet or whatever, like this beer, I think would be, I'd hand it to you and you go, okay, hang on. Wow, that's not like sickly sweet. Wow, it's actually pretty dry. Oh my God, it's tart. Like, I can taste the berries. I can taste the adjuncts, but it's not over the top. I think this is where it would work for me. And again, say for one last time, if the dryness wasn't as substantial as it is, this would be a winner. Anyway, price point availability, I think, Wes, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said these were $22 a 4-pack. So, you know, that's the going rate. Typically here in New York, they're more like $25 a 4-pack for something like this, so a little bit less expensive in the South. And would I buy this one again for, you know, $5 to $6? Depends. I would definitely try more within the series and different variants for sure, but I didn't buy it because Wes was nice enough to send it my way. And availability, it's Two Tides. I think they get, you know, some distro in the South. I've never seen them here, although they did a collaboration with Mortalis in Avon, New York here. They did the Hydra Fluff Motif. I didn't pick it up. If they ever redo that one, I will definitely grab it and give it a proper review. So huge thanks to Wes for this beer. If anybody has had this beer or anything within the series, post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. If you're a raspberry lover, or I'd say just raspberry and cranberry lover, this is you all day, especially if you like these beers, you know, these styles. This just hits the nail on the head with the raspberry and cranberry. Like, it's definitely prominent, and I appreciate that. So thanks to Wes. Thanks to everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Till the next one. Cheers.